I'm not in the business of prescribing how to do something. I'm in the business of aligning us to make sure that we're all marching towards the same goal or objective. But outside of that, I want people to feel free to be as creative as they can in their strategy and in their thinking and their approaches.
Welcome Steve Cragle, who is the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for UnitedHealthcare Global.
I've been at United Health Group for about 5 years. I've been working and overseeing marketing, communications, and consumer experience for our global business for the past year. Prior to that, for 4 years, I oversaw the same functions for our Medicaid business and our dual special needs business, which is a combination of Medicare and Medicaid combined. I took my degree in political science and economics, thinking that I could kind of make my mark doing that. And I ended up going to work for a city in California where I was a policy analyst. So I sort of de facto had to become the city's kind of public affairs officer. And then I ended up doing radio shows and having to do advertising, and I learned about communications. What I found was that I really enjoyed that work. So after about 5 or 6 years of doing that, I decided to leave and move into the private sector, so to speak, working in an agency environment. It was from that work that I decided I really wanted to focus my career in healthcare. And then I moved up through various large agencies. When I had the opportunity to take my first client side position, it was with one of my largest clients at the time, Medtronic. And so I joined Medtronic in California, and they kept pulling me to corporate. I said, I'm a California guy. There is no way in Hades you are ever going to get me to Minnesota. And lo and behold, I ended up going to Minnesota. And the irony in that is not only did they lure a California guy to Minnesota, I then left to go work at Merck for 4 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and then decided to come back to Minnesota after 4 years. I tend to just be exceedingly candorous, if that's a word. It creates humility and it kind of disarms people. Sometimes it gets me into a little bit of trouble, but it's also kind of a bigger part of my overall philosophy, which is, we work so hard and we work so often, and especially during a pandemic. I think people, to the greatest degree possible, should really strive for kind of a work-life integration so they can be authentic in the person that they are at home just as much as they are in the office, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm not dressed like this because I'm at home in this office. I pick up and I go to work and I show up this way. So I really ask that of all of my team members because I think it's just a more efficient way and a more human way of interacting. I always tell people to get themselves into an environment where they have lots of opportunities to experience lots of different things, and don't ever become too siloed and too focused, right? Empathy and compassion, they're sort of the two sides of the same coin. Always critical, particularly given that we're serving oftentimes some of the most underserved populations. I don't think you can be a good marketer if you don't practice and cultivate both of those skills, because we're essentially here to get inside the heads of our customers, and in my case, the members we serve or the patients we serve. And if I can't, on a daily basis, kind of walk a mile in their shoes, I'm not going to know how to engage them. I'm not going to be very effective. I really appreciate humility. None of us here has all the answers. Mm-hmm. And the only way to get answers is to really approach your work and to approach life with that kind of mindset. Be relentlessly curious and acknowledge that there are great, smart people who, if you give them the opportunity, will be able to provide you with answers that are likely 1,000 times better than you come up with. Because I've got my own blinders, and I'm aware of that. People want meaning. They're spending all their time working. People derive meaning from their work, and the only way to derive meaning is to be able to contribute in a consistent and measurable way. And I really regard humility as kind of undergirding the ability to create that sort of environment. I always wanted to try a lot of new things, and that's really what I try and build into my team structure. So focus on business problems and focus on the different channels that you need to reach the appropriate audiences to solve the problem, and keep your aperture as wide as possible. And I found that in most cases, 95% of my teams love it. There's a little anxiety at first because people will say, I don't know what earned media is. And I'm not asking you to become a subject matter expert. I'm asking you to familiarize yourself with it so you can think of it as another tool that as a counselor, you can offer your clients. I have just always been really passionate about contributing to society in a meaningful way. And I know that's not for everybody. I am kind of wired that way. It's why I do healthcare. It's why I have chosen to stay working for mission-driven companies that I know are making a difference. I try and bring that to work and to my teams every single day. And what I find is when I've been able to combine that passion with a company or an environment that really is very mission and purpose driven, you tend to attract likes, team members. And that's really the beauty of it, because there's never really any question with regards to kind of what your true north is and what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to accomplish. Dual special needs business. And that's, again, Medicare and Medicaid. We grew that business in about 3 years from about $3 billion to about $13 billion. I had to embrace that hyper-targeted, personalized, one-to-one kind of marketing continuum and realize that there was not going to be any shortcuts. I was going to have to invest in the platforms and the technology, the measurement, the capability to be able to not just find, but to engage a population who frankly are very distrustful. They're distrustful of insurance companies, they're distrustful of governments, they're distrustful of people in general. So what I had to do was really open my aperture and think more broadly about, it kind of goes back to the empathy. I had to really force myself to live a day in their shoes. And so more so than ever, I started traveling the country. And I didn't travel the country to Beverly Hills, I went to Elizabethtown, New Jersey, right? I went to the places where I knew these members were going to be. And what I found so quickly was that understanding their world, walking a mile in their shoes, and taking the time to be as hyper-focused and hyper-targeted, that is a lesson that sticks with me to this day. I enjoy having a lot of skin in the game, and I enjoy being able to not just see the impact, but to really make a measurable impact on business performance. I find that just motivates people in general. When you can really see that you can see the success, and success breeds more success.